Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the earnings conference call of Dalmia Bharat Limited for the quarter and full year ended 31st March 2021. Please note that this conference call will be for 60 minutes, and for the duration of this conference call, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. This conference call is being recorded and the transcript for the same may be put up on the website of the company. After the management's discussion, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. Should anyone need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode. Before I hand over the conference to the management, I would like to remind you that certain statements made during the course of this call may not be based on historical information or facts and may be forward-looking statements. The forward-looking statements are based on expectations and projections and may involve a number of risks and uncertainties and other factors that could cause actual results, opportunities, and growth potential to differ materially from those suggested by such statements. I would now like to hand the conference over to Ms. Aditi Mittal, Head of Investor Relations at Dalmia Bharat Limited. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Janice. Good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you in the quarter 4 FY21 and full year FY21 earnings call of Dalmia Bharat Limited. On the call, we have with us Mr. Puneet Dalmia, MD Dalmia Bharat Limited, Mr. Singhvi, Managing Director and CEO Dalmia Cement Bharat Limited, Mr. Dharmendra Tuteja, CFO Dalmia Bharat Limited, and Mr. Rajeev Bansal, Group Head Strategy and Transformation. We will have the management opening remarks from Mr. Dalmia, Mr. Singhvi, and Mr. Tuteja, after which we will open the floor for questions. Over to you, Mr. Dalmia.
Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Q4 21 earnings call of Dalmia Bharat. We sincerely hope that you and your family are safe and healthy. Our nation has been quite adversely hit by the second wave of COVID, and our priority has always been and will always be the safety of all our stakeholders, particularly our employees. We pray for the safety and good health of each individual and hope that our country and the entire world is able to beat the pandemic very soon. Though the last few weeks have been challenging with various states undergoing different stages of lockdown, we hope and believe that like last year, the country and the sector will be able to bounce back quickly in a short period of time. We continue to believe in the long-term growth story of India and believe that the country would see a GDP growth between 6 to 8% year on year, at least for the next 5 to 7 years. Given the government's focus on infrastructure spending, including investment on roads, railways, ports, and low-cost housing, we believe that we are at the start of the much-awaited capex cycle. These capex cycles last usually between 6 to 8 years, and data shows that our cement sector generally grows 1 to 2% higher than the GDP growth during these times. We have seen that typically the cement prices go up by 2 to 3% year on year during these cycles. On the competition landscape, the top 5 players today command almost 50% of the market share. What is interesting to note is that over the last 3 to 4 years, almost 85 to 90% of the incremental demand in this sector is being fulfilled by the top 5 players. All of these make us believe that over the next 6 to 8 years, the top 5 players in this sector have the potential to grow around 15%. Coming to our performance in FY21, I want to applaud our employees and their families who have, in a tough COVID year, delivered amazing results. It is all the more important that since we have, during the year, crossed some important milestones in our journey. We have, during the year, added 4.25 million tons of capacity to close at 30.75 million tons. We have, for the first time, crossed revenue of 10,000 crores, growing at 9% YOY to 10,522 crores, and crossed the net profit of 1,000 crore for the first time at 1,243 crores. While our revenues have grown by 9%, our razor-sharp focus on higher productivity and cost efficiency has resulted in our EBITDA growing by 32% YOY to 2783 crore. EBITDA margins for the full year is at 26.4%, the highest ever that we have delivered in any year ever. In fact, on an incremental basis, while our revenue increased by rupees 848 crores during the year, our EBITDA grew by rupees 677 crores, which is equal to almost 80% of our incremental revenues. Our net margin for the full year is at 11.8%, and our EPS grew sixfold to 65.65. The board has also decided to propose a final dividend of rupees 1.33 per share for the financial year 2021. During March 2021, the Honorable Supreme Court, vide its interim order, had restored the mutual fund units to Dalmia Bharat Group. As you would recall, these mutual fund units were fraudulently transferred by the promoter of Allied Financial Services into his account and were used by him as collateral in an F&O trade. These units were credited to Dalmia Bharat's account during early April, and of the total MTM value of 390 crores, we have sold units worth 278 crore, and the balance 112 crore is a part of cash and cash equivalent on our balance sheet. Mr. Singhi will give you further color on our annual and quarterly financial and operational performance in his opening remarks. We had, during our earnings call for Q3 in February, spoken about coming up with our capacity addition plan, capex plan, and a capital allocation framework in this earnings call. But in the light of the second COVID wave in the country and the uncertainty around that, we have put the new capacity expansion plan and the capital allocation plan on hold, and we believe that it will be more prudent for us to conserve cash rather than commit additional capital. A large number of our own people and their families have been impacted by COVID, and during these unprecedented times, the physical and emotional well-being of our people is of utmost importance to us. Out extensively to all our stakeholders, and we have set up a feet-on-street team whose only task is to assist all our stakeholders in arranging for vaccination, COVID testing at home, organizing hospital beds, oxygen concentrators, ambulance services, and facilitating medicines. This team is available 24/7 for all our people and their family needs. We will wait and watch how the things play out in the next few months, and once there is more certainty in the general environment, we will take an informed decision around formulating and communicating the capacity and the capex plan and the capital allocation framework. Having said that, we will continue to spend on our planned spending in Murli and other projects. With this, I would now like to hand over the call to Mr. Singhi for his opening remarks. Thank you.
Dear friends, happy morning. Namaskar. First, let me convey my thanks to Punitji for leading us as well as sharing his thoughts. We all are aware, friends, that it's a tough time, testing time. Last year was also the same, but we all committed to ourselves that we should consider this as new normal and come out as winner by efforts of each and every member of our Dalmia Cement family. Let me share with you that the efforts which were made by our people so as to take care of themselves, their family members, other stakeholders have really resulted in great results also, but at the same time, the safety of the people. Today again, on this call also, I'd like to convey our sincere thanks and gratefulness to our people who have worked hard all through this difficult time and rose to the challenge and delivering the industry's best performance. Our people are our strength, our people are our assets, and over the years, we have worked very hard on building a committed team with robust value system and culture. I know when times are tough, the efforts of the past begin to bear fruits, which is what we all so witness this time around. And this is what Shripunit has shared. But to enjoy the great performance, I would like to again repeat that during the year, we have achieved several milestones with annual revenue crossing 10,000 crore mark for the first time. EBITDA margin highest ever, 26.4%. The PAT crossed 1,000 crore for the first time, and the PAT margin of also the highest ever, 11.8%. You all know that at the beginning of the year, after the lockdown was imposed in the month of May and June, there were various speculations, projections for the GDP growth or degrowth, I would say degrowth of the economy, as well as the projections about the growth of cement sector. I still remember that the figures which were talked about that cement demand may degrow by around 15%. And when we take stock of the situation and look at full year, it looks like that the industry as whole for the India would be degrowing around 3 to 5%. In such a testing time, with the efforts of each one of our team members and with the strength of our brand.
The person you are speaking with has put your call on hold. Please stay on the line. आप
Sir, you may please go ahead. Speakers, your lines are unmuted. You may please go ahead. Well, we've just lost the line for Mr. Mahendra Singh. Please stay online while I reconnect. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently holding the line. We have the speaker's line connected. Over to you, sir.
Friends, my apologies for this glitch. I was just sharing with you that in this such testing time when cement industry has due to around 3 to 5%, we have grown by 7% on YOY basis, which is a great performance. And if I were to just include the volume which we sold from our new BCW grinding unit during trial run, the volume growth number comes to around 9%. The revenue of what the company has increased to 10,522 crores, which is an increase of 9% YOY, in spite of April 2020 being a completely washed out month. We have gained market share in each region of our operation, and our team displayed exceptional leadership in South also, because where we have grown in the market despite a decline in the overall industry. I would say one of the maximum benefits which we could get during this time is our virtual connect with all our stakeholders, whether it's a dealer, sub-dealer, consumer, transporter, CFA agent, anyone. And I'm sure even this COVID time of 2021 also, we would be greatly benefited. The quarterly revenue increased by 32% YOY to rupees 3,281 crore. And this is the first time ever when it surpassed the 3,000 crore threshold. The revenue increase is accounted for by 24% YOY increase in volume and balanced through an increase in the prices. The growth in volume is evenly spread in each of the regions of our operation. If one were to see sequentially, the average price during the quarter remained almost flat in South. In the East, including Northeast, the prices regained some strength, rebounding from the lows of Q3, particularly in East. Currently, the situation on ground is quite volatile, uncertain, with different stages of lockdown in various states. The regions most affected by COVID is Jharkhand and Bihar and Chhattisgarh in East, and Karnataka and Maharashtra in Southern region. And there are disruptions on account of COVID spreads, on account of curfew, but we are quite hopeful that the way we tackled the situation last time, our team is fully geared up to take care of this lockdown also and to this pandemic also. For full year FY21, our trade sales increased to 69% from 62% last year. Our premium product DSP as a percentage of trade sales increased from 13% to 18%. Our overall blended sales was 80% for the full year as compared to 74% last year. And this is the journey of increasing blended sales we are marching on. In fact, in East, we are able to sell 100% blended cement. We aspire to further increase our share of blended cement in our product portfolio, as it not only adds to our profitability, but also it increases our sustainability efforts and it reduces our carbon footprint. Moving on to the quarterly cost trend, our logistic cost in the quarter has increased to 1,041. However, we have been able to contain the adverse impact of the sharp increase in the diesel cost through a reduction in the lead distance and various initiatives. On a full year basis, the per ton logistic cost has almost remained flat as against an almost 30% increase between the March exit prices of diesel from 62 in March 20 to rupees 81 per litre in March 21. The raw material cost increased QOQ to 864 per ton in Q4, mainly because of significant increase in the prices of slag in East and fly ash in South. On full year basis, there has also been a slight increase of 4% and cost increase to 754 rupees per ton. During Q4 FY21, the power and fuel cost has moderately increased QOQ to 875 rupees per ton in spite of a steep increase in the cost of both petcoke and coal. This is because we were able to utilize some low-cost inventory of petcoke, reduce the petcoke proportion from 70% in Q3 to 52% in Q4, and also could realize some savings through improvement in both heat consumption and power consumption. For the full year FY21, we have in fact witnessed a decline in our overall cost per ton to 798 rupees per ton, and this is more specifically, friends, because there were visible softness in fuel prices during H1. One of the important aspects of our initiative is the green fuel percentage for the full year is at 8%, and this has also been able to take care of some volatility in the fuel prices. Currently, as we speak, the commodity prices of petcoke, coal, slag are increasing continuously, with the spot petcoke price at almost $132 per ton, and slag also inching up once again. During the full year FY21, we have closely monitored and controlled the fixed cost. Due to current adverse external environment, now we have ensured that for the safety of the people also, there is a total restriction on the travel and at the same time, the rent and other administrative-related expenses would also come down. And we believe that unless normalcy arrives in the market, some of these costs will remain contained. For FY21, the EBITDA has increased by 32% to 2,783 crores. I would like to mention that the quarterly EBITDA of 776 crores is the highest quarterly so far. Our EBITDA margin for Q4 is 23.7%, and for the whole year, our highest 26.4%. During the year, our total finance costs have declined significantly by 33% from 438 crores to 295 crores. This is on back of rupees 2,234 crore reduction in the gross debt. Over the last 3 years, we have reduced our debt by almost 50%, and our current net debt to EBITDA, our current net debt to EBITDA stands almost to zero. We are literally in net debt-free company with net debt to EBITDA of 0.04. The full year growth in debt has been more than 5 times YOY to 1,240 crores. And this is the first time, as I highlighted and Punitji highlighted, I have a higher. And similarly, is the PAT margin of 11.8%. Our EPS for the year has multiplied almost 6 times to 65.65. During the year, we were one of few companies which completed a successful share buyback program, and we did it for 329 crores. Moving on the capacity enhancement program, last year in totality, we added capacity of 4.3 million tons. Our capacity enhancement for the FY22 is in place, and we have planned that commercialization of our Odisha grinding unit may happen in the Q2, and Bold Industries commercial production should start in second half of the year. Our Bihar grinding unit is expected to be commercialized next year during FY23. Having said this, we are closely monitoring the COVID situation on ground, and as of late, we have not experienced much disruptions in our operations, but in projects there has been some disruptions. Dear friends, we are optimistic of great business performance even as we begin a new financial year. We will be cautious of the rapidly changing COVID situation, and our team is fully geared up to take care of day-to-day situation also and long-term situation also. I would like to also share that we have the COVID task force, we have the Dalmia helpline, and its number is also appearing in our website. So maybe any one of you who would need any support throughout India, they can contact our Dalmia helpline, and I'm sure to the best extent possible, our team would be able to help you, your friends, and the same is our commitment to all our stakeholders. Friends, I would also like to thank you for keeping faith and confidence in our organization even in this tough time. Now, with this, I would like to hand over the call to our newly appointed CFO, Mr. Dharmendra Tuteja, as DT, as we call him, has been with our group since 2011 and has held multiple positions at various levels. He has a rich and diversified overall experience of 34 years across various industries, and we are quite hopeful that with such experienced person at the leading position, we will and organization will grow in a big way. Thanks, friends. Take care of yourself, your family members, and convey our best regards. Now I hand over to DT.
Thank you very much, Sanjay ji. Good morning, everyone. This is my first interaction with you as a CFO of the company. I look forward to interacting with you on an ongoing basis in the future as well. I am very excited to take over the role as a CFO of Dalmia Bharat when we are at the start of a great growth journey with a very strong balance sheet. Over the years, our operating and financial performance has improved significantly, and today our volume and revenue growth and EBITDA margins, they are amongst the best in the industry. My priority as CFO would be to enable the business to exceed the expectations of every single stakeholder and to ensure that while doing so, we maintain the highest standards of corporate governance. I look forward to your support and guidance in this journey. And with this, I now open the floor for questions to all of you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Indrajit from CLSA. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I have a couple of questions. First is on the deferment of the capital allocation policy. Now, as Sandeep mentioned, we are effectively a net cash company almost there. I understand in the current fluid situation, it may not be advisable to incur capex right now, but what was the thought process behind deferment or the planning of it altogether, so that when things we get hit on the running and we can actually start it really fast in terms of the capital allocation and capex?
What's your second question? You had a couple of questions, you said.
Yeah, my second question is on the cost side. So on the current level, so how much more cost inflation can we see mostly on the coal and petcoke side? And is international thermal coal now more attractive than petcoke for us?
Singh, do you want to talk about the coal thing? I'll cover capital allocation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So friends, in totality, the prices of coal and petcoke both have gone up, whether it's a US coal, Indonesian coal, or South African coal in the line with the petcoke. But at the same time, what we have done is that our plants are compatible to use any type of economic fuel. So whenever there is a US coal which is economical, or the South African coal or Indonesian coal, we have used it and will continue to use it, and that's why our fuel cost will not be in equivalent to 120 or 130 US dollar petcoke price. Our fuel cost may range around say $105, which will be mix of little bit Indian coal, few other coal, petcoke, as well as the green fuel.
So just to clarify, we could see another 15% increase from here, as things stand today.
Yes. So I think all of us are aware that on account of lower availability of petcoke, lower production of petcoke, the prices have gone up, and on that account, to some extent, the demand of coal of other countries have also gone up. But at the same time, we are fully geared and working in a big way how to further enhance usage of green fuel, which will take care of volatility of the fuel prices.
Sure, thank you.
On the capital allocation side, we are looking at the current situation as very volatile, and we want to assess its full impact and how it's going to play out. And therefore we just thought that we're going to debate it much more deeply across how we should plan in the face of current volatility. And that's why I think we've decided to deliberate it more and move widely and then come back. So I think it's just on account of this volatility. We understand that we are going to be a net cash company, and a lot of free cash flow is expected in the future. So we want to be very thoughtful about it, and we want to give you all very specific guidance in terms of how we are going to do things in the future. So I think that's why we thought that let's pause and reevaluate the impact of this because this is a development in the last 2-3 weeks, and we just want to fully factor this into our thinking before we come back to you.
Thank you so much.
And let me just assure that whatever capex we have already planned, we are fully working on it, and the new capacity for which work has already started, we are on the full speed.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Chheda from Enam Holding. Please go ahead.
Congratulations to the entire management team for the record results in the quarter and the fiscal, and turning Dalmia almost into a net cash company. Just a continuation of this exciting growth journey. So a few questions. First, I think since you have at least deferred, what would be the FY22 guidance on what's the pending capex to reach the announced capacity of 37.5 million tons, and what would be the maintenance capex? That is my first question. Second is on if you can share the overall sales volume mix. I know you don't give it on a quarterly basis, but it would be good if you can share the sales volume mix state-wise for the fiscal. Approximately 20.7 million you did. If you can share approximate sales volume mix across the states, and what was the growth rate in over previous year? And the last question, if you can guide on the effective tax rate, as this year, this quarter and overall year, the tax rate was too low as there was some credit of earlier years, and I think one of the subsidiary adopting into a new tax regime. So what should be the model tax rate for future? Thanks a lot.
So let me address first about sales. So I would say we have grown in each region, but definitely we don't share state-wise or region-wise sales volume. And overall, the market share which has gone up is on account of overall 9% extra volume we have sold in FY21. But otherwise, state-wise, it may not be prudent for us to share the numbers. And Dharmender, you can talk about the tax rate which is coming low on account of DCPL moving to new tax regime.
Yeah, as we have clarified in the notes also, Dalmia Cement Bharat, which is the main operating entity, has moved to the new tax regime, and as a result have got one-time tax reversals of about 2017 crores. And also one of the other subsidiary companies, Dalmia DSP Limited, they also recognized deferred tax assets, which resulted into 59 crores deferred tax credit being recognized. So if you add back these two one-time adjustments, our effective tax rate is about 35%. In the current year also, we expect the effective tax rate to be about 30%, but our cash tax rate is expected to be in very low single-digit numbers as in the current year.
And the capex guidance for 22 on the pending on projects and maintenance?
Dharmender, would you like to share number now, or would you give offline?
Yeah, I think specific numbers of these I think should not share, but we can still go ahead and give the broad guidance.
So share it offline.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Murarka from Motilal Oswal AMC. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. So my question was around capacity. I think in the last call you had mentioned an intention to double the capacity over a 3-year period. So where are we on that? Like, have we firmed up the plans, and how soon can we expect some announcement on that front?
So look, I think, yeah, go ahead, Singh. Go ahead.
Yes,
Hey, please, Singh, you can talk.
Yes, I would say that the plan is in offering. We are making the plan, and when we discuss with you next time, along with our capital allocation policy, etc., then we'll be able to share broad plan that this is how we'll be going upwards. But at the same time, like the 38 million ton, which we are expected to reach shortly, that already has been shared.
Okay. But could you just help understand, like, is it largely going to be brownfield, or there will also be some greenfield capacity that you plan to do?
So it will be mix of both, but at the same time, unless we talk with you on detailed plan, it may not make much sense.
Okay, sure. And just again on the earlier question of the fuel mix, so how much would be the coal in your fuel mix right now?
The coal mix would be, I would say, around 35 to 40%.
Okay. And in this quarter, there was no low-cost inventory that you used. I mean, all of this was at market prices.
Yes, and when you say market price, the inventory may be of, say, $90 to $110 of petcoke and different prices of US coal.
Sure. Thank you. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bharat Seth from Quest Investment. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Congratulations. This question is only for Puneet. I mean, I don't have any operational question. We are working in right direction and taking, company, next level of efficiency level in the industry. So, Puneet, I have a question that we have several subsidiary and all because of acquisition and all. So, when do we expect to restructure and really make, our balance sheet more understandable and all, the kind of a structure that we have. And second, on any plan on this IEX holding divestment?
So look, we already, we acquired a lot of companies in this growth journey, and we've merged all of them with Dalmia Cement. We also acquired Murli and Kalyanpur, which was GDSPL, through IBC. And, we have filed a scheme to merge those companies with Dalmia Cement as well. So the only subsidiary we will have left post this merger is Calcom Cement. There will be no other subsidiary, which is an operating subsidiary of cement. In terms of, IEX, as I said, we are thinking through our capital allocation policy given this COVID second wave, and we will cover it along with that capital allocation framework that we will present to you.
Okay, and we have some of the subsidiary where the holding of these different investments are lying. So I wanted to understand that part of not only operating but all the remaining subsidiaries.
I think let me just review this because there are some subsidiaries which have limestone lands, and there was a need to create this because of that one company could not hold more than a certain parcel of lands due to Land Ceiling Act in Tamil Nadu. So there is a historic legacy to this, I think, but I don't know which subsidiaries you are referring to. We can review
I'll
this
take
now.
up with Aditi separately.
Yeah, there are no material, subsidiaries other than which are holding limestone lands.
Okay, thanks. All the best, sir.
Thank you.
With respect to the CapEx question, I think I mistook that as a guidance for the future, but if it is for the past, maybe I can share the numbers.
Dharmender, take it offline.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shreyans Bukanwala from Canara Robeco Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, sir. So two questions. One was on the expenses side. Our other expenses were quite high this quarter, if I see compared to last couple of quarters. So one question was so was there any one-off in that? And secondly, if you can just throw some light on the pricing side. So you did mention in the south probably it was flattish in Q4. So are we seeing any price improvement in south in this quarter, as well as some color on pricing in east? Yeah, these are the two questions from me.
Great. So on expenses side, I would say quarter to quarter, these expenses have gone up because operations have gone up. If you compare quarter 1 to quarter 4, there's a huge difference between the volume. And in spite of increase which you see in the last quarter also, but it's still the per ton fixed cost in totality would be around, say, 660, 670 rupees, even in quarter also and in a year also. So the expenses is also guided by the overall volume which you produce and sell. Now, in terms of pricing, I would say the market is quite volatile, and like you may be aware that in Karnataka it's a full lockdown. In Maharashtra, most of the districts are in lockdown. Kerala, things are not that great, but still I don't expect much drop in prices because moving out the cement also from few factories would also be a problem. So there will not be glut in cement market, and you know that the prices are made of demand and supply. And in fact, in the east also the same situation. So to us it looks like that prices may remain broadly stable.
Sure, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. That was from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kamlesh Bangmar from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, sir. So just one question on the part of this goodwill. So what treatment we have provided for the treatment for the goodwill post this increase in some taxation in the last budget?
Yeah, I'll clarify that. As you know that the government has debarred tax depreciation on goodwill. So for current tax, we will not get any depreciation tax benefit on this goodwill. However, for the purpose of deferred tax asset, this will continue to be a cost of acquisition of the undertaking. So the deferred tax asset gets created instead of at 25% at a capital gains tax rate of 22%. So we've taken a net charge of about 16 to 17 crores in the P&L account.
Sir, hadn't it been the advisable thing that we would have taken the entire write-off of the goodwill, because anyway we are not going to get any benefit on the tax front, and like say optically it would have increased or improved our ROEs.
This is also when we consulted tax experts as well as accounting experts, they said this is the practice which many corporates have been following, and this is the current accounting treatment. Of course, people can take a view and be ultra conservative, not recognize this also.
Yeah. And sir, lastly, I do appreciate that we have again taking a relook at our capital allocation policy. But on the existing capex plans, like say we can share what could be the guidance or capex guidance for FY22, because anyway those projects are continuing and there could be a 3 to 6 month delay here and there, but at least we can have the capex guidance for FY22 and FY23.
Aditi, can you share that number? Because, again, just to put a caveat, given what Vineet and Singhi have said, there's a lot of volatility and uncertainty in the market, but we are going ahead with the capex that has already been planned, and Aditi would share the numbers with you on what we have planned. There could be a few delays of a few months here and there, depending on how the COVID situation and shutdowns are across the country. But Aditi has all the numbers. Aditi?
Yeah. So, in Murli, we have spent about 170 odd crores. The budgeted expenditure that we are expected to do at Murli is around 400 to 450 crores. While we are on track to start the commercial production in between quarter 2 and quarter 3 of FY22, the expenditure you can probably spread over the next 12 to 15 months because all of it is not required to kind of start the commercial production. For the East expansion, from the total budget of 3,200, we have spent close to about 250. Balance is 950 odd crores. A large part of it is allocated towards the Bihar grinding unit. Again, this expenditure you can spread probably evenly between FY22 and FY23. There being slightly more uncertainty around setting up the unit. I think we should just evenly spread it.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhusudan Kela from MK Ventures. Please go ahead.
Hello. So, Mr. Dalmia and the team, heartiest congratulations. What a spectacular performance in a tough year. So, I had two questions. So, while we understand that the company is working on the capital allocation and the capex plan, but based on our understanding, there will be significant cash flow which will happen in the company over the next 3 to 5 years. So is there any other business which you are looking at where you can put this capital, or cement will be the only business which will be there for 5 years also?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah. No, so I think, I think we will cover this as a part of our capital allocation policy only. Right now we have guided that we are not going to do any further investments in IEX, but the board has allocated around 100 crore, where we are doing a small test in our retail business, where we are looking at building materials retail. So I think we are going to cover these two, businesses very clearly in our capital allocation policy in the coming years, in the coming quarters.
Okay. And the other was one small point which was raised earlier also, because now from a taxation front, when it is clear that the goodwill, we are not even going to get depreciation or any other tax-related benefits, I think it will be prudent to rethink and see if you can do the write-off of the entire goodwill, because that will improve all parameters, including ROE, ROC, meaningfully.
Madhu, Rajiv here. I think it's a very good suggestion. It is something on the table being looked at. We were thinking about looking at when we look at the next 3 to 5 year capital allocation framework. This is one of the points which we are considering also. But given that, we have not been able to finalize capital allocation framework, given that the capacity and the capex plan got delayed, we will definitely be looking at it and covering it as a part of our capital allocation framework, which will come back to you in the coming months. Absolutely, it's an absolutely valid point because it helps us in improving our return ratio, and this is something definitely is on the table.
Okay. Thank you for very much. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prateek Kumar from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. My first question is just regarding the recent changes in MMDR Act. How are the mining leases of our 3 locations, Chhattisgarh, MP, and Rajasthan, like placed in terms of PL and ML? And there were a few changes regarding that which was talked about in the Act. So, what are we thinking about that?
So let me say that our PL, they were in quite advanced stage of getting the mining lease. So they are different than what the changes has been brought in. And we are now contesting in court, and we are quite hopeful that we'll be able to convert those PL into ML, because the grant of ML had happened in most of the cases. So we are hopeful, and we have been advised legally that we should be able to convert those PL into ML, and it will take more months to get it finality, but we are quite hopeful.
And delay in starting work, whether it's PL or ML, does not impact mines being taken away from us. Like let's say if you are wanting to wait for new expansion.
No, you are right. It would impact in our any plan.
Okay. And sir, can you we mentioned about higher slag prices during the quarter. So where were the slag prices during Q4 and how have they further increased in Q1?
So these were little bit in the south, and we have already taken various steps, including utilizing pond ash and drying pond ash, etc. So we are quite hopeful that time to come we'll also be able to take care of the volatility of fly ash prices, because fly ash prices goes up many times when the demand of cement and then demand of fly ash goes up, particularly in south and to some extent in northeast.
Slag prices, I was asking, slag prices have gone to like 1200, 1500 range again, like they went to 1800 once, I remember, a couple of years back.
No. Fly ash prices ranges maybe from 700 to 1100, 1200 only.
Slag prices are not. Slag prices.
So, my mistake, yes. So, slag prices, yes, from location to location or the steel company, it ranges from, say, 1200 to 1600, 1700.
Okay. Just one last question on, we have seen like lot of volatility in demand in month of April. So has it like sort of flipped around 20-30% versus record month for March for like industry in April?
What's your question, please?
So I think, as we understand, industry had a record month in terms of sales for month of March across the country. Has the sales flipped like to the tune of 20-30% since March? In April, I'm asking.
Yes, for overall industry, it may happen about 25 to 30% overall industry.
Perfect. Thanks. I'll get back.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Girish Chaudhary from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning all. A couple of questions from my side. Firstly, if I look at your product mix, overall blending is around 80% as per the initial comments from the call, but also East it is around 100%, again mentioned in the call. So outside of East, blending appears to be far lower. Any reasons for the same and any plans how to address this going ahead? That is my first question. Second question, it would be great if you could give an update on your Northeast operations for the year FY21. Any qualitative update in terms of the profitability and then also the outlook going ahead from a demand supply perspective will be great.
Yes. So I would say that in South, where there is a good proportion of OPC by almost all cement plants, and on that account, the percentage of blended cement is comparatively lower in our operations. But at the same time, if we look at the last 9 months, we are finding that this has improved by more than, say, 12 to 14%, and we are hopeful that in 2 years' time, this PPC percentage would jump in a big way. In Northeast, I would say the demand has grown, and with the projects which have been declared by the government also, and NHI project also, and hydro projects also, the demand should be better in Northeast. Our operations have been one of the best in FY21 in comparison to last year.
Okay. Just a follow-up on Northeast. If you see, if your overall total EBITDA has grown by 32%, can you give a sense on Northeast? Has it grown lower or above 32% at the company level? That will be helpful.
In totality, Northeast, I think it is better.
Okay. And then again, just a follow-up on the blending. You said that you plan to increase it, but any concrete plans, or how will you address this? And also, if you can share the OPC for the South operations. What is the OPC as a percentage of South sales?
We don't share figures region-wise and product-wise, but at the same time, broadly, we have shared. Plan is to go up in trade sales. Plan is to go for blended cement so that it can help both in conserving the mineral resources also, as well as bringing down the cost and bringing down carbon footprint. So we are on.
Got it. I have one more question, if I may. This is with respect to the freight cost. Again, last 2 quarters, we have seen increase or decrease in direct dispatches and also increase in lead distances. Any reason you would want to attribute this to, and will this again revert back? And what is the percentage of sales through direct dispatches?
I would say that in Q4, exactly, I don't have these figures on. Aditi will be able to share with you. But otherwise, I would say that we are addressing the logistic cost, and there are a lot of initiatives which are on our table, and accordingly, we are hopeful that the logistic cost in time to come would come down. And on direct dispatches also, many times because of the various situations, it may impact, but then definitely, I guess numbers can be shared by Aditi afterwards.
Sure. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sanjay Parekh from Nippon India AMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and congratulations to the whole team for a commendable performance. So, broadly my question was answered, but just what I understand, and I know you'll, explain more us in the next quarter, but what we understand is the diversification, if at all, will be small, and it will be in a synergetic area of building materials. Can I take that as a key takeaways of what we discussed?
Rajiv?
No, Sanjay, hi, Rajiv here. When we are on the table looking at our capital allocation framework, I think we have to meet multiple, needs. One is definitely cement is the core of our business. I think if I can share initial thinking is that a very, very substantial part of our operating cash flows would go into the cement business. We're also looking at what kind of a debt to equity or net debt EBITDA we should be looking at. As Madhu rightly said, we also have to look at how to improve our return ratios, looking at the balance sheet more carefully than what most of the companies end up doing. They do more focus on P&L and EPS and EBITDA. But I think it's time that we're looking at capital allocation framework, we look at all these things holistically. Having said that, we also as a group have aspirations to build a large conglomerate. So I think there are many things that we have to balance as we go along. But yes, the focus would remain to be a cement player. We want to be a larger cement player, and that's the reason what Puneet said about the retail. The board has approved up to 100 crores of investment in that venture, and that has got delayed by a couple of months because of the COVID situation in the country. And they will be able to give us an assessment of where they are and what the initial outcome of the experimentation has been in the next 1 or 2 months. And then we'll be able to take a more holistic view of what it is. So at this point of time, yes, substantially, it would be a cement company, cement player, a pure play. IEX kind of investing, we're not making any fresh equity investments. IEX will be looked at as a part of the larger capital allocation framework. and also the investment that we're making, small investment, experimentation money that we put in retail, a deeper thinking is required on that over the next 1 or 2 months, and then we get the results out of the experimentation.
Perfect. Very clear, and best wishes to the whole team. Great performance.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prateek Shah from Edelweiss. Please go ahead. Next question is from the line of Pritesh Asay from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think firstly, congratulations on the great set of numbers, and I think large part of my questions are answered. So just one clarification on the volume numbers for this quarter. So you said, excluding the DCW volumes that we are in the trial run currently, the volume growth is 7% for the full year, and including that, it would have been 9%. So the 6.4 million ton number does not include the DCW volumes, that is around 4.4 million ton. Is my understanding?
You are right. You are right.
Okay, great. So whole 6.4 is coming from your existing 28.5 million ton capacity as on the last quarter.
You are so right.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think that's it from my side.
All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mudit Agarwal from IIFL Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is related to the WHRS capacity. Is the capacity planned with the new clinkerization unit in Rajgangpur is commissioned, the 15 megawatt, or what is the status of the another 30 megawatt of WHRS capacity which we are planning in the coming time period?
So for new line, part has been already commissioned, and part of pertaining to feed that's under commissioning. That is one. Secondly, all other WHRS, they are in the different stages of execution, and they all would be commissioned almost by March 22.
Okay. And just how much is the part is commissioned out of 15 megawatt? If you can quantify this.
That should be around 7 to 8 megawatt.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for that. That's it from my side.
Great.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ujjwal Shah from Quest Investment. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my question. Just wanted to understand on the slag and fly ash part bit. So, sir, we would have long-term contracts for the same, and considering a lot of competition has also come in East, should be aligned such contract and all. Do you think that is also one of the reasons that slag prices have moved up and they might stay at those levels? Can you comment on that, sir?
I would say that in few places we have also slag contracts, long-term contracts. At few places we have long-term contract for fly ash also. And as you are saying, the others may be also having. And we are also in the process of having more contracts in time to come.
Sure, sir. And secondly, in terms of AFR, so what percentage of fuel mix is AFR currently, and what kind of journey are we seeing for AFR going forward?
So presently it's around 8%, and the journey is a long journey, but we can expect about 15% by end of this year.
Great, sir. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Chheda from Enam Holding. Please go ahead.
So what would be your clinker capacity on 31st March? That's one question. And your 30.75 million capacity given in press release, does it include Murli Industries 3 million grinding, or it doesn't include that?
It excludes that because that has not started its commercial production.
Okay, so 3 million you said would probably start by Q2, right?
H2.
H2, okay. And what would be your clinker capacity use on 31st March?
That maybe offline it can be given, but that I'll not like to share at the moment. That can be given offline.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Ms. Aditi Mittal for closing comments. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in today. And I would just like Mr. Dalmia to give his closing remarks and end the call.
So once again, thank you all for joining in today, and thank you for all your support during a very uncertain year. I want to again just end by saying that I would pray for the safety and well-being of you and your families and your loved ones. These are tough times, but we'll all stay together, and I think united we will win. I also want to just compliment our entire team on a great performance, and I have learned one thing, that if you prioritize people over profits, magic happens. Thank you once again for joining our call, and look forward to staying in touch. Have a great day.
Thank you. On behalf of Dalmia Bharat Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining. You may now disconnect your lines.